quality auto parts for your vehicle? Shop one of the 30 Raleigh-Durham O'Reilly Auto Parts stores. You'll find we have convenient locations, thousands of brand name products in stock, extended store hours, everyday low prices, and well-trained professional parts people. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, you are now tuned in to 110 Sports Talk. I go by the name Lynn Knight. Hey,
it's the best.
Running through the competition, no competition. You don't believe it, turn us up. Sit back and listen. We bringing you the stats, all the breaking news and facts. Want the latest on the biggest trade? Well, this is where it's at. We don't talk it, boy, we live it. Got that all around coverage. From track and field, you name a field, we got it all covered. No diss to Derrick Rose, but we don't talk that bull. Just wait till he get healthy, better watch out for them bulls. Slide over the hockey, shout out to the Kings. Salute to LeBron James, y'all both got y'all rings. Looking for the real, you tune into the best. The sportologist and Mr. CJ Sports is up next.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Glad to be here. Kind of weird not having a Monday show. And matter of fact, we're not having 3 Monday shows. Had a great weekend this weekend. Had the opportunity to go see Mama CJ Sports. Got the opportunity to hang out with her, my son, Shorty for the weekend. Had a great time up there. We went to Gatlinburg. It's kind of where we meet every year. So got the opportunity to do that, hang out, sightsee, do all that great stuff. Got back Sunday night and made it to halftime in the Saints and Dallas game, and then passed out. Did a lot of the driving. As a matter of fact, about 11 of the 12 hours. So between that and getting up early every morning, staying up late every night, and just trying to get the most of, and all the hiking and everything else, I was dead beat. I'm still worn out. I've really not caught up because I turned around, got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and or 4:30 in the morning. Had to be work at 5 o'clock. Worked 5 to 3 yesterday. To turn around, shoot, get dressed. Got dressed, and we shot down to Charlotte. We met Kayla Lyons, who we had on the show last week. We met her up at the Chip Ganassi Sound Garage event. Had the opportunity to do that, and got back about 12:30, 1 o'clock. I think it was all said and done, and back at it first thing. Worked 9 to 8 today, so not had an opportunity to catch up. Had a great time. I got to thank Chip Ganassi Racing and all their sponsors for everything that they did and the event they put on. Had a blast out there. Had 5 drivers this time instead of just 3. I forget the IRL driver name today, and I don't even know if I really caught what it was yesterday. But they had, of course, Kyle Larson. They had their Xfinity Series driver, the Dylan Kalinzinski or whatever his name is. Brandon Poole was there. Sage Kanam, however you pronounce his last name. And then Chip Ganassi's other IRL driver was out there as well. So it was really cool. They had 1,000 horses, 1,000 horses put on the show, the music. Great band. Had an opportunity to listen to them for the first time. Never, and like I was telling Kayla, she met us out there. She was our guest out there. Like I told her, if we listen to country in my house, it's 90s country, and pretty much ever since 90s, music's really gone downhill, and it's not just country, it's all music across the board. It just has. And so a lot of times if we listen to anything anymore, we're listening to top 40. Every now and then channel like, I was going to say Q98 or G105, but nobody knows what those 2 channels are this way. Basically a top, your local top 40 kind of station. Something plays a little bit of everything. But usually, if we're somewhere where we have choice and we can, put it on whatever we want, then like at the house, we'll put on 90s, country or 90s R&B or 90s hip hop or whatever. That just stick the really what lasted the good music. So I had fun. It was great to be able to meet Kayla Lyons face to face. And the bright, talented, upcoming race car driver. So it was really cool. We've tried to do this a couple of different times. I've had tickets to Bristol. I've had tickets to Charlotte. That's, we wanted to be able to meet up and meet some of our listeners and, get them into a race or get them into an event for free. And it seemed that it never panned out. For one reason or another, things just, they either didn't show up or we just couldn't get rid of the tickets or whatever the case was. So it was really cool to finally have it work out. She seemed to have fun. I know we had fun. Be able to meet the drivers and get pictures with the drivers. And, we took some pictures of ourselves out there and got some free give me stuff out there. McDonald's was out there in full force, giving away breakfast sandwiches and breakfast food, and I know I ended up getting some fries. I had probably 3 of their mocha latte drinks or whatever, so really, really cool. Got some T-shirts. Just got some really cool things, so I had fun. They did the, I'm not going to call it a meet and greet, but I had all 5 of them on the stage and had them answer different questions that was sent in by the fans. So it was really cool to, kind of listen to, them on social media, the music they're into, just life in general. So really cool opportunity and real cool thing. So, Chip Ganassi was out there. I mean, it was just a cool event. It was really cool that they do that. Not every team does that. Not every team tries to bring their fans, and this was geared kind of towards more the younger generation, but, trying to relate to their fans and get, their fan base more involved and more excited about their team. And, it's a really cool thing that they did that. We're going to be posting pictures up on Facebook. I know over Kayla Lyons Racing, some of the pictures have been posted. I'm going to be posting pictures either tonight or first thing tomorrow. I get a little bit of break. I will go until 1 tomorrow. My phone, the way it worked was Kayla's phone died shortly after we got there, so I got a couple pictures on my phone of her with, Kyle Larson and stuff, and then it wasn't too long after that my phone died because I was stuck at work all day, and Shorty didn't have her phone charged, and we used hers for the GPS, and even though I was plugged into some kind of USB thing, it wasn't the main one plugged into the lighter, so I really didn't get that much juice, so I died shortly after. Caleb died as soon as we got in, and then mine made it to, I think, some part of while we were going down the red carpet. We was using Shorty's phone to take pictures anyway. No, I made it inside. I made it down the red carpet, and once we got inside, I think I made it another 3 or 4 minutes after that, and my phone was dead, so I had to wait for Shorty to send the pictures over. She sent them over about an hour ago, so I didn't have an opportunity to post them yet. But a lot of cool pictures of me with the drivers, Shorty with the drivers, Kayla Lyons with the drivers, and a couple pictures. All 3 of us was with the band, and then we got to figure out how to pull out the other one. There was a social media picture taken of all 3 of us, and we got to have a little fun with that as well. But like I said, real cool time, great band, liked the music. Had fun, had an opportunity, just to be around everybody. It was real cool to see the cars. Once again, be out there at the Chip Ganassi Racing Team's home base. So had fun with that. So not a bad deal. It's not always bad to have this life. The personal life aside, just even on the my side of the fence on this, and the hours and hours and endless hours that had been spent in the last 4.5 years building this, and the thousands, I couldn't even go into to tell you how much money that I have spent in the last 4.5 years doing this. We've started over so many times. I think that's probably the most aggravating part is how many times that it started over. Just finding our way to where we're at now. And really, we had found our way last year and was really doing great last year until I got hit with unemployment on the personal side, and then the virus that we caught in the computer, it was making it where we couldn't have shows, and I really couldn't do anything with the shows at all. We had to wait until we had the bills taken care of, so we could try to get the virus fixed, and then eventually ended up getting a new computer. It's new to us. It was a used computer. But in the midst of that, we ended up losing the domain we had back in 110nationsports.com. That was banking. That we were. I say banking, and we weren't making money, but we were having a really big following, and our numbers were getting way up there for that to be kind of pulled from underneath us by somebody that happened to get us right after the 45-day renewal date that I missed, and so we got thrown back in, and somebody bought it and wanted to charge us an arm and a leg to get it back, and I'm sorry, I just can't do that. So we kind of had to start back over the beginning once again a few months back. But really, the forming of the corporation, which that's another arm and a leg there, the forming of the actual company itself, and everything that happened this spring to early summer kind of set in stone where we're going, and there's no turning around. There's no starting over. This is it. We're all in on the project. We're all in on where we're at and where we're going and what we are and who we are. And so to have a night like last night, to kind of be rewarded for everything that has gone on over the last 4.5 years, it was great to kind of just be able to kick back and enjoy an opportunity like we got last night. And, this Saturday is, another one of those opportunities is I have the opportunity to be out there at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Bank of America 500 to do media for the only race in the Chase that is a night race. So got opportunity last night to do that. Saturday we got the opportunity. I get the opportunity to go out to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. But tonight, on top of that, I got a whole plethora, I guess is the word I'm going to use, of opportunity of guests tonight, I guess. We got Noah Gragson joining us, race car driver. Looking forward to having the opportunity to meet him, get to know him, racing career, how the year's going. In life in general, as you know, we like to know a little bit what's going on in the normal, and I say this in air quotes, the normal life, not all about being on the track and everything. Then we will follow that up with Patrick Taylor from Line Blowers. Looking forward to having him on the show, getting you guys caught up on the latest topics of Week 4 of the NFL. Then, on top of that, 16 years old. Noah's a young driver. 2 wins, 7 top 5s, 10 top 10s, a pole. Number 1 in the rankings. Seems that, I'm a little late to the show here. That was on the East. Also did a couple races in the West as well. So I tell you what, I know I'm a little late to the show. Didn't mark the race too. I tell you what, it's been a crazy weekend, and this is one of those things that, like I was telling somebody, I got to do this, I got to do that. It's all before the show. But anyway, we got Patrick Taylor talk NFL, and we got John Izzo joining us at 10:30 to talk NHL as we got the regular season getting underway here. So looking forward to having all three of these guests on and hitting all these nice topics. So, God, I'll tell you what, it's been hectic. Been hectic. I guess we're not gonna be able to talk to NASCAR, and I missed that yesterday. How about that race? And we're gonna obviously talk about this even some more tomorrow as well. But going into the race, the two things that you needed to happen in order to see Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick to make the next round, to ensure that this chase is going to stay interesting, and in my opinion, I think in about 99% of the fans out there, regardless if you are a Busch or a Harvick fan or not, you need those two pieces of the equation to maximize the best opportunity for a suspense-filled chase. The two scenarios you needed to happen. You needed Kevin Harvick to finish first. You needed Kyle Busch to preferably finish second, but probably at least top three, maybe top five, or probably top three in order to advance. I know it seems kind of impossible. I knew it was possible, but, I mean, could the stars really align? Could it really happen that NASCAR gets a gift handed to them, an early Christmas present? Could you really see Kevin Harvick dominating a race, winning the race? It didn't even have to dominate the race, just win the race. And Kyle Busch be able to not win the race, but at least finish right up underneath his coattail, basically second place finish, to get both of these in there. I mean, could NASCAR be blessed like that? That's all you could think going into Sunday's race. What are the odds? And what were the odds? I wonder what the odds were. I wish that I had the accessibility to the odds in Vegas on a Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch 1-2 finish, so both of them can make it into the chase. Because even though I knew there was a good possibility it wouldn't happen, the possibility of it happening, I would have loved to have been able to put some kind of money down on those odds. I don't care if it was $5 or $10. I'd have loved to have been able to put down some money on those odds. Because sure enough, we have Kevin Harvick first, and we have Kyle Busch second. Not only for Kevin Harvick's sake did he get first place, he dominated the race. Led like 75% of the race. Like, just dominated that. Jamie Mack, disappointed not make the chase. I mean, honestly, in his interview, and I did get to hear that on the way back, he honestly thought a top five would get him in. Obviously, he would have liked to finish better than top five, but top five, obviously he would like to win. First, win the race is still top five. But, I mean, obviously he would have liked to win, but, honestly, he felt comfortable with the top five car would have got him into the chase. I mean, fourth place finish to keep him inside where he needed to be in the chase standings. I mean, that didn't seem to be too unreasonable. But all behold, there's Dale Jr. finishing third. That X factor, that just that right there, that one position is what got Jamie Mack. Jimmy Mack does not advance. Jimmy Johnson. How weird is it to think? I mean, it wasn't really that weird, I guess, because Hendrick and the Hendrick boys have not really been that impressive. Not just middle third or maybe even more of third section of the season. It's toward the beginning of the season. They got, Jimmy Johnson got his wins, Dale Jr. got his wins, and they seemed to be pretty legit. But then you went through that spurt of about 2-3 months that it seems that Joe Gibbs Racing found it and everybody else just lost it. And more so Hendrick Motorsports. I mean, Kopinski was at least more competitive. Obviously, the 78 machine has stayed competitive. But Hendrick has just really fell off. And so to see Jimmy Johnson not make it, I mean, I guess it's really not that big of a shock. Glenn Boyer not making it, not a shock. Paul Menard not making it, not a shock. Jimmy Mack, yes, we would have liked it, but really not that big of a shock. And Jimmy Johnson's really your only shock. And I guess the only part of it that is a shock is the fact that this is a 6-time champion, and it just seemed like the 48 team could never, they could never get rid of the 48 team. It seemed that, he had, a factor in, almost, I think he's made every chase period, but it seems like he, factored in somehow or another in every championship. I mean, maybe outside of the Stewart and Carl Edwards when Stewart won. And obviously last year I don't think he made it in the Final Four, but I mean, still I believe made it in the Final 8. So, I mean, and he might have been in the Final Four. I don't remember last year's Final Four outside of Kevin Harvick and Ryan Newman being in there. But, I mean, that's your most dominant driver over the last 10 years, roughly, with the championships he has won. And I guess that's the weird part is to see him go out in the first round, and we're not going to be talking about there being a possibility of Jimmy Johnson winning a championship this year. It seems that every other year, later into the season, we're still talking about the possibility. But kind of weird. Not totally surprised because of the equipment, but, so everybody gets resetted. We get to go to Charlotte. This ought to be interesting. Night race. They are. You got 12 drivers, 3 races to get it done, and only 8 of them are advancing. So I'm hoping to see the sparks fly this Saturday. I know last year I had the opportunity, or I was given the opportunity, or offered the opportunity to go, but I think work-related or something happened, or maybe the finances weren't there at that particular. No, because I ended up going to Martinsville. I forget. Maybe it was just work-related that I couldn't get out of it. I'm not 100% sure because. Maybe, yeah, I think it was work-related. I couldn't afford to do it because of work-related situation, I think. I am going to Martinsville. The company got me in the Martinsville race instead. But I was supposed to be out there tonight. I know there was, I think that was the night that Matt Kenseth went in between the trailers and did what he did, the fight. I was supposed to be there and be down there. And so kind of hoping that we'll get some of the same fireworks this Saturday night. It's getting more intense. Now you got a third of the guys being Joe Gibbs Racing. You still got Happy Harvick coming off his win and high off his win. You still got both Penske boys there, so we got some fire in there. So I'm looking forward to Saturday nights. Looking forward to this chase. Kevin Harvick, 355 laps. It just, I mean, who would have thought that it would have played out that way? It's crazy to me that I don't know. Like, the stars lined up. Like, they should have never lined up perfectly, but they did. And when we turned the race on as we were coming back from Gatlinburg, that's all I could sit there and think is, how is this possible? How does NASCAR get that lucky that all the stars are in line? And I don't know. If you're not checking us out on Facebook, make sure you check out my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. You can check out the sports side and the side of the house, 110 Nation Sports Radio, 110 Nation Sports, or you can check out the radio side and the guest side of the house, as we like to keep up with our guests, over at 110 Nation Sports Radio. Like I said, if you not follow us on Twitter, you can hit me up at CJ Sports 1. You can hit the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. I don't remember. If you're interested in coming on the show, all you got to do is hit on Miss Lee. If you're an athlete, part of some kind of athletic organization, some kind of team or whatever whatever the case may be, maybe you got a site or a show that you do yourself, and you want to come on and promote it and talk sports, or maybe you want to help with the social media side of the house. We got a Facebook group that we got up and going. Just a lot of things going on. All you got to do is, like I said, and I don't even know why I said that last part. I just got confused. I'm trying to do 20 things here at once as we're getting ready to get Noah on the show. Let me just say, if you got some kind of foundation or charity, we would love to have you come on and be able to promote it. There's a social media. We'll talk about that in a minute. So basically, if you're an athlete, got a show or a site, you want to come on and promote it, talk sports, or maybe you got some charity, foundation, or whatever the case may be, you'd like to come on and help us get it out there so you guys so other people can hear about your charity or foundation or what you have going on. All you got to do is hit on Miss Lee. That's LEE_110nation at yahoo.com. We love to get you scheduled on the show and have an opportunity to meet you and get to know you. We got Noah Gragson joining us tonight, K&N Pro Series driver. A very impressive resume from what I've seen, so I'm loving the opportunity to do this. I tell you what, like I said, it don't get no better this week. I know there's a lot of ups and downs in the 4.5 years, but the Chip Ganassi Sound Garage last night, getting an opportunity to talk to a young, talented driver, and then bounce back on Saturday and get to go out to the Bank of America 500 and do media out there. This is one of those weeks that all the struggles for the last 4.5 years just kind of go out the window, at least for this week, and we'll see what hills we got to climb next week, but without any further delay, let's go ahead and get Noah on the show. He didn't tune in tonight just to listen to me talk. He called in to be able to let us have a chance to meet him and get to know him. Noah, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you guys for having me on.
Oh, the honor and the privilege is all ours. We love to get the opportunity to meet the future in the racing world. Before we jump into this, I'd like to give our guests the opportunity to plug their social media, maybe websites, sponsor, anything you want to throw out there. That way the fans get to know you, be able to keep up with your season and your career. So go ahead and plug that in there.
Yeah, I love connecting with the fans. So any fans that are listening right now, check me out on Instagram and Twitter. I mostly go on there. I go on Facebook a little bit, but my Instagram and Twitter is follow me at Noah Gragson, and then my Facebook is at Noah Gragson Racing. So check me out on all those and to follow me for more racing updates and what I'm kind of doing in my life and stay up to date.
Very impressive resume from what I've seen for the 2015 season here in the K&N Pro Series. But before we get into this season and how your career is going now, let's get to know the young Noah first. At what age did you get into racing?
Yeah, well, I'm 17 right now, so I started in 2012 when I was 13 years old. They kind of consider me as a late bloomer, I guess you could say, compared to some of these kids, some of these kids starting when they're 4, 5, 6 years old in go-karts. So I started in Bandoleros at the local racetrack here in Las Vegas called the Bullring, out at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And I did that in 2012, worked my way up to the Legend Car ranks in 2013, 2014, and then at the end of last year in 2014, I made a couple late model starts for Dustin Ash Motorsports. And this year we got the opportunity to make our K&N debut and run with such a great team, Jefferson Pitts Racing. You know, we go to the racetrack all the time and just bring phenomenal cars. So I can't thank everyone who's helped me over the past couple of years.
And like you mentioned, you're actually considered a late bloomer, even though you got into it at the age you did. Why such, and I know this is a really weird question, especially since you technically got into this sport at a young age, but compared to, we hear the drivers at 5-6 years old getting into go-karts, why such a late start? Was there just never an opportunity? Was it just never a thought in your guys' mind that you wanted to race cars? Or, I mean, what made it kind of be make you to be a late bloomer?
Yeah, I never really had the opportunity growing up. Never really got the chance to go run go-karts or any of those things. No one in my family has ever raced, so just not having the opportunity, I went to the local indoor go-kart track and did that for about a year, and then my dad's business partner, they had a couple Bandoleros, and they said, well, why don't you come out and try it? Because I always like riding my bike and skateboarding and doing anything action sports-wise. So I was just so fortunate to get the opportunity to run the Bandolero, and then ever since that day I tested, and first time on the track I loved it. It's just a lifestyle from now on.
So, I mean, how did it come about? Did he happen to see you at the go-kart tracks? How did he present you with the opportunity to be out there in the car, in the Bandoleros?
Yeah, it's my dad's business partner. His name's Frank Moretti, and he had two kids his two kids raced, and they were about 8 or 9 years old when they started. So we just went out there, tried it out, and it just stuck. So just very thankful that it's happened, because it's changed our life ever since, and I couldn't expect it any other way to be living right now. I love every single second of it.
I can only imagine. At what point in this, you said 12, 13, correct, when you started?
Right, correct.
At what point in this last 5 years did you guys know, or you more specifically, did you know that this is what I want to do? This, not only is this what I want to do, I know that I can make a living, I can make a career, I can be somebody that everybody is going to cheer for. At what point in your 5 years, roughly, career, did it sink in that this is it?
You know, I still don't know if we're for sure we want to make this career. I mean, I love it. I'm 100% committed to it, but obviously funding-wise and opportunities, everything, all the puzzle pieces have to fit, and you never know. You could be the best driver out there and never get the break. So I think right now it's just try your best every time you go on the racetrack, meet new people, shake new hands, and try and make the best of the situation. You know, you never know when you're going to be out on the racetrack again. So once again, I'm just very thankful to be racing right now, and hopefully I can continue it.
How difficult has it been for you balancing school and this career?
School's, I'd say it was pretty difficult last year. I was going to normal school 5 days a week, 6 hours a day, so I would have to miss a lot of school, racing legend cars nationally, and now that I'm running a K&N series and going back east for weeks at a time, it makes it pretty difficult. So I started homeschooling this year, and it's really cut down the hours, I'd say, and I can kind of work around my schedule and put in more hours one week and then miss another week, so kind of get ahead, you know. So the homeschooling has really benefited me.
Out of all the cars different kind of cars you've been in, which one has come the easiest or been the most natural to you? And then on the same note, which one has been like the most difficult for you to really grasp a handle on?
I'd say racing and race cars they're kind of like an ex-girlfriend. They're all the same, but different in a way, you know. So I like being in any kind of race car, you know. It feels pretty natural to me, to be honest. So I wouldn't say that one has been easier and one has been harder, you know. They all have their similarities and differences.
Have you ever used that saying in front of a female before?
Actually, I'm at my crew chief, Dustin Ash's house. He crew chiefs my late model stuff, and his wife is standing here right now, and they just started cracking up. So I guess today's the first time.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I would say that's a safe analogy to use in front of everybody, in front of a female, but I definitely enjoyed it, and obviously they enjoyed it as well. Where was I going at? All the same. God, you just throw me off. Oh, I see you've done some West and, mainly West, and I've seen 11 races on here. I don't know if this has been updated all the way. And a couple races on the East Series. Now, thanks to NBC Sports, I've got an opportunity to see more of the K&M Pro Series races and get an opportunity to learn a little bit more, but I'm going to admit I'm not the most knowledgeable. I learned what I learned from what coverage that NBC's got and a lot of the drivers that we've gotten the opportunity to have on the show. Competition-wise, how different is the competition from the West Series to the East Series? And I know some of them run in both series, so you see some of the familiar faces. But how different, or is there any difference in the competition level, or just the style, or anything in the two difference from the West to the East?
Yeah, I think the West and the East Coast they contribute a lot together, and they're very similar. But I feel like running on the West Coast, there could be 10 drivers that could show up at each weekend and win, you know. So it definitely makes it a very competitive field, and I feel like the East is very competitive too. Also, I'm not saying one is more competitive than the other, but I feel like at least 10 cars can show up a weekend and win on the West Coast, and I don't think it's been like that in previous years. I feel like this is the breaking out year that they've had, and there's a lot more drivers coming into the sport, and it definitely helps having NBC Sports televising all the events to give fans another look into the races, which they normally don't get to see at all, maybe once or twice a year. So just very good opportunity for us young drivers.
How I know that there's a lot of drivers in both series. How competitive is this sport? Period. You know, I've used this term, this analogy, and I'm gonna stick with this word. When I've talked to a couple other drivers, and I don't know if you guys sit there and think about it, and you guys probably do because you guys are in the sport. And I don't know if a lot of the listeners or the fans think about this until unless they caught my show before. But you have hundreds of thousands of drivers. It don't matter if they're 6 or 10, 12 years old. I think I've seen a 12-year-old winner at one of the local tracks, the dirt tracks or whatever. All the way up to, I'm sure there's guys 50, 60 years old out there just loving it, slinging dirt, or being on the asphalt track on Friday and Saturday nights. But then the series gets smaller, and you got the K&M Pro Series and the ARCA Series and the Truck Series and so forth and so forth. And you guys are all ultimately running for an opportunity to get one of those 43 spots in the Sprint Cup Series. And let's be realistic about it. On top of that, you got about good 20 to 25 of those that ain't going nowhere. Your Jimmy Johnsons and your Dale Juniors and your Jeff Gordons, except for retirement, aren't going anywhere. So realistically, you have hundreds and thousands of people or drivers, athletes at the very bottom level really shooting for about 20 spots. I mean, this is not the NFL where you got 53-man rosters and 32 teams. You're shooting for about 20 spots, and that's it. Do you ever sit there and think about how competitive this sport really is, and how behind the scenes, how competitive is it between you guys? Is there a lot of tension at times, or is it kind of everybody gets along kind of scenario, a big sorority kind of ordeal, and it's kind of like team racing? Once you're out on the track, it is what it is, but once it's off, you guys are off the track, you guys are all, one big brotherhood.
Yeah, I think you got to be close with your competitors in a fashion, and you can't get too close though, because sometimes you'll be hanging out with them on a Friday night before the race, and then Saturday night you're racing against them on the track, and you might need to use them up or something to get around them, and you just can't take it. I guess you can't take it to heart. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all friends, and to really make it to the top is realistically it's very, very hard. You know, there's thousands of people out there trying day in and day out. So I think the best thing right now is to just try my best on being different, but not being too different. You know, I'd like to stand out a little bit and be different and kind of give the fans something to root for and whatnot, but not be too different where they don't like me. So I think at the end of the day, it's you just got to try your best and be yourself, and hopefully the right opportunity will come. You'll meet the right people, and hopefully you'll make it.
Now, correct me if this is not updated, but this is the only thing I can pull up when it comes to your stats and this season. Well, the stats I'm looking at, they got you first in the points, 2 wins, 7 top 5s, 10 top 10s for the 2015 season. Does that sound about correct? Is that up to date?
Yeah, that's correct.
How's it feel being on top of the points in this series? A very competitive series, obviously. One more step towards the ultimate goal, and here you are with a couple wins underneath your belts, and you're sitting on top of the points.
Yeah, coming into this year, we didn't know what our expectations were. I kind of set goals for myself personally on what we wanted to do. I would have liked to, at the beginning of the season, before it even started, I'm so new to stock cars and not really having much experience. So realistically, I wanted to get a top 10 in points, and just ultimately this year is about learning and just making the most out of it, you know. So realistically, top 10 in points, but we got 2 wins so far and have had some decent amount of success. So definitely nothing to hang our heads on at all. Can't take it for granted, though. We just need to keep our heads up and keep working harder, and hopefully we can pick up a couple more wins before the end of the season. But I've been pretty happy with the results so far, and it definitely helps having the guys from JPR bring you fast race cars to the racetrack every time. All the guys work so hard. My crew chief, Gary Pitch, me and him work really well together. So communication is key in this sport, and I feel like if you're good communicating with your crew chief and all your guys, and I kind of treat it as a family at Jefferson Pitts Racing. You know, we're all there for each other. My teammate Grayson Raz, we work together and talk and go over what we're doing on the racetrack, debrief a little bit after practice sessions. So I think that's key, and just learning the most you can every time out on the racetrack will definitely benefit you in the long run.
I like that. You're really modest with it. Like, we're going into the season with a top 10. We got nothing, you know, we can hang our heads high and everything else. You know, you got 2 wins and you're first in the points. You don't get no better than that, and especially with the expectations going into the season. Excuse me. I'm not going to say that it's been easy. Don't get me wrong. This is a very competitive series, and everybody is, you know, trying to their hardest to get to that next level. But with the expectations, you know, the goal set is trying to be in the top 10 in points, and here you are with 2 wins, 10 out of 11 races in the top 10. Has it came maybe a little bit easier than you thought it was going to be? Not that it's saying it was easy, but did it come easier than you thought it was going to?
Yeah, I think I've adapted to the race car a little bit more and more each time I'm in it, and I just got more comfortable. I didn't think I'd be as comfortable running on these fast tracks at 160 miles an hour before I've been there, but now after looking back at it, it's not too bad, and I love the speed a lot, and I really focus on the team. You know, we're one big family, and I don't focus on, hey, I want to race. I focus on we want to race, the team want to race, because it's definitely not an individual effort. Everybody puts in their hard work, and it definitely helps having everybody on the same page. So I just can't thank everyone from Jefferson Pitts Racing enough. They work hard every single time we go to the racetrack, on and off the racetrack.
What kind of track do you prefer? The short tracks, the big, you know, the big tracks, road course? What if you had, you know, your choice next weekend at any track to be at? What type of track would it be?
If I could go to any track next weekend, I'd probably go to Tucson Speedway, just because you can run 3 and 4 3 and 4 wide the whole entire race. It's an old, wore-out racetrack, so you gotta save your tires and be conservative, but you also have to go and be up at the front so you don't get into trouble. So I love that place. The fans are great. I love racing at my local track, the Bull Ring. The people are awesome there, but I just like racing any racetrack I can, being in any car I can. It's a true passion of mine, and I love it.
Now, two-part question here. And during the regular season, or while you're in the season, what do you do in your free time that you don't got a bunch of time off, but you want to get away for a minute, and then also in your off time, in the off season, what do you do in the off season to kind of recharge your batteries? Just kind of step away from everything, get an opportunity to be you by yourself, or you with maybe a close friend or family, and kind of just be you, not the Noah everybody sees on the track, or the Noah that's got to be concentrated on his career or the season or the car, but Noah, the kid that was out there skipping rocks once upon a time, or whatever you like to do, ride bikes and skateboard, that Noah.
Yeah, I think if any of the fans or anyone sees me at the racetrack, I'm always having a good time. I feel like there's not really a big difference between me at home and me at the racetrack. I'm a kid at heart, and I feel the best time and the best way to be focused is just being yourself and having a good time. There's no better way to be focused than being yourself, and I always like having a good time, messing around a little bit with the guys, joking around. So like today, I was helping my buddy Adam work on his go-kart, and I love anything to do with racing and whatnot. I always love doing anything action sports, all that kind of stuff, messing around. So I don't think there's a big difference between me at the track and me being my normal self, And
how hard is it to have a normal teenage social life, girlfriend life? Has it been difficult for you? Do you have a lot of time for it, or how do you handle that part of that?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I feel like racing is the number one thing for me personally. I like racing the most, even if it's over a girl. So I'm going to put everything into racing before anything else, do whatever I can. But it makes it tough sometimes, I don't really do most kid things. I don't really party or anything. So I guess you'd say, live a boring life. But I'd rather go work on a go-kart or help my friends go ride bikes or something than go party and do normal high school kid things. So I'd rather be at the racetrack than be doing normal kid things, I guess you'd say.
And I respect that, and I tell a lot of the young drivers we have on the show that I didn't know what I wanted to do until 4.5 years ago when I started doing this. I'd been general manager at 100 gazillion places. I spent 4 years in the military. I have done weightlifting competitions. I've bounced, but it wasn't until April 15, 2011, when I got to do this, that I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And I applaud you young adults that know what you want to do, and you guys are doing everything you can to make it happen. I think even if I'd have known back then what I wanted to do, I probably wouldn't. I'm a procrastinator, so I probably would have not done whatever I wanted to do anyway. So, but I do applaud you guys for that, because not everybody knows what they want to do, and there's people older than me that still don't know what they really want to do. How many more races you guys got for this season?
We have 2 more this season for the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series. Roseville, that's in 2 weeks up in Northern California, and then we go to Phoenix the beginning of November. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not really sure on what to expect for those 2 tracks. I've never been to either one. I know Roseville is a small little third mile, and Phoenix is a mile. So one's real small and one's real big. That's the only thing I know. So just need to adapt real quick. And the guys from Jefferson Pits Racing, they unload with good race cars. So hopefully it'll be easy to adapt. And I know my crew chief has good notes for Roseville, so we'll see what goes on.
Now, is there any plans for the 2016 season yet?
We don't really have anything set in stone. We'd like to be running another year in K&N for Jefferson Pitts Racing on the West Coast, and hopefully be making a couple more East starts. And I just made my first career ARCA start at Kentucky last weekend for Mason Mitchell Motorsports, so that was a pretty cool deal. Great team, everyone there. We connected really close. So I really like that team, and hopefully we can make some more starts for them in the future on some of the bigger tracks like Pocono, Kansas, Chicagoland. It just makes it hard for 2016, not being 18 years old. I'm 17 right now, so I'll turn 18 July 15th of 2016, so I can't run full-time in the truck stuff or any of that stuff. So it makes it kind of difficult, but 2017, hopefully we'll have something set up also.
How eager are you to turn 18 and be able to prove and show everybody your talents on a full-time basis?
Yeah, I'd like to turn 18 and be able to run full-time trucks or something, but I think ultimately right now I'm focusing on just finishing races and learning the most I can right now, so hopefully it'll pay off in the future. You know, I'm very new and almost inexperienced compared to some of these other people who have been racing for 10 years. So just trying to learn the most I can right now, and I don't know if we're necessarily ready to go up to the next level, you know?
Yeah. Now, I saw that you had that one Xfinity Series race. How much different was the competition level, in your opinion, from the K&N Pro to the ARCA Series, and how much difference, speed-wise or horsepower did you feel in going from the K&N Pro car to the ARCA Series car?
I didn't really feel that much of a difference, to be honest.
Gotcha.
Obviously, I was at different tracks, and I think we're going up to 189, 190 miles an hour at top speed. So Kentucky, I should say, is such a large-scale track. It's a mile-and-a-half track. The biggest track I've been on before that was Iowa, which is a 7/8 mile. So it's just such a bigger scale. You're in the corners for so long that it doesn't feel like you're going as fast compared to your smaller tracks where you get into the corners real quick. You're in the corner for so long, so it feels like you're going slower. So I didn't really notice that big of a difference, to be honest.
That's cool. What kind of rush is it like to be at 189 miles? I think the most I've ever got my car up is to 100. Is it a rush to you? Is it just an everyday in the office scenario for you? What's it like for a race car driver getting to those kind of speeds?
I think for me personally is once I get in the race car, strap the belt sign. I know you hear this all the time, but it honestly feels very natural to me, and I feel like I'm in the zone. I guess my adrenaline's pumping. I'm in the zone, and I'm just 100% focused. You could wave your hand in front of my face, and I'd be dead focused on what's in front of me on the racetrack. So it just feels very natural to me.
Now, growing up, and this answer may change, and mine did, and I'll explain a little bit, but growing up, who was your all-time driver that you idolized, wanted to be like, and if it changed, who is it now? Like, growing up, I was a big Bill Elliott fan, but now I'm a Danica, Kyle Busch fan. You know, some of the drivers have retired, especially for me because I'm older. And your answer may be the same, but growing up, who did you idolize? Who did you want to be like? Who was your driver? And then if it's changed, who is it now?
You know, I didn't really watch NASCAR as a kid until when I first started racing. I actually sat down and watched it and really started to understand what it is. I thought I honestly had that normal person expectation of, they're just going in circles, and I was just going to be hard at all. But once I got into the Bandolero, I know it's nothing major or anything, but I started to realize, hey, this is really hard to get a hold of, and you have to be really good to be able to make it in the sport. And the guys who are racing in the top levels, there's a lot more than just turning left. So I didn't really have a driver, to be honest. I always liked action sports, and my favorite action sports guy was Travis Pastrana. I always looked up to Travis Pastrana. I used to watch motocross. I liked James Stewart, Chad Reed, so guys like that. And then when Travis Pastrana went into NASCAR, I started following him a lot. So, but my favorite driver right now, I'd say, is Kyle Busch. I love watching him race. He puts on a good show all the time, and I feel like he's a true wheelman at heart.
Oh, yeah, he's most definitely the most talented driver. I honestly believe he can do more on 3 wheels than most can do on 4. I'm very impressed with what Kim and Kevin Harvick both, they both had what they knew what they had to do, and they both went out and accomplished what had to be done last weekend, and both those drivers, obviously, very talented out there. And I was going to ask who you have in the chase, but obviously we got that answer with who you pull for now. This seemed like it was one other question, but I forget what I was going to ask, but I don't remember now. Noah, I want to thank you a lot. I can't believe how quick that time went by. I definitely enjoyed having you on the show. Dora will always be open. Would love to be able to talk to you maybe in the off season and get to talk to you how it feels to be the 2015 champion. And maybe later on when you guys get something set in stone in 2016, would love to be able to keep up with you and your career as well. Good luck on the last 2 races of the season. Good luck in your career as well. And I'm going to let you rest up and get ready for another day tomorrow. And you have a great night.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I enjoy talking to you guys on here and allow the fans to listen. So thanks to all the fans for listening. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Noah Gragson and on Facebook at Noah Gragson Racing. So it's cool catching up with you. Hopefully we can talk racing more in the future, and I just appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye. That was Noah Gragson, K&N Pro Series driver, points leader out west with a couple wins, 7 top 10s, 10 top 10s. 10 out of 11 races in the top 10. It don't get any better than that. Unless you won 10 out of 10 races, or 10 out of 11 out of 11 races. But let's face it, not seeing a lot of these tracks and doing what he's doing. Got a lot of respect and got my eyes open on these last couple races to see how Noah does. It's just cool. You don't get an opportunity to sit there and talk to everybody out there, and so I really do honor, or I do appreciate and greatly I have a lot of respect for those that come on the show and give us their time. And it always seems that we get them for a half hour, so it's not even, we get them for a couple questions or 10 minutes here, 10, 15 minutes there. They give us 30 minutes, and I'm assuming Miss Lee sets that up. I don't have any part to do with that, and God bless Miss Lee for everything she does. But it's cool. It ends up being more of a conversation, and it's fun to do this. And it's fun to get to learn meet new people and, talk to them. And later on, you never know where you're going to run into them again and be able to have a conversation with them and, put faces, like the opportunity yesterday, having Kayla Lyons meeting us out there at the Chip Ganassi Sound Garage event and be able to finally meet her face-to-face and hang out with her we hung out for almost 3 hours, a little bit over 3 hours. So it was cool. And, this is one of those weeks, I tell you what. And don't get me wrong, the last 4.5 years ain't been bad. It's not like I'm not trying to say that. It's just been a lot of work. And another person that understands a lot of work, a lot of promoting, a lot of time invested into what they're doing is Patrick Taylor of Line Blowers. We got him joining us in the studio now to talk some NFL. And I'm going to be 100% honest with him. I'm going to try to keep up. I know he's got a few topics that he wants to talk about, and I know there was a big to-do about the Seattle game, but I'm going to be 100% honest with trying to catch up with all my hours because I worked, because the way our work works is at 7 o'clock in the morning, the clock reset. And so Friday morning at 7 o'clock actually ended the previous week, and my new week started. So I only got 4 hours from Friday morning and there we go with the 10 o'clock phone shuts off, reset. Patrick called back in. I had Patrick. I was just getting ready to get Patrick on the line or in the studio and let him get to talking. But and if you're listening, Patrick, go ahead and give me a call back. I don't know what's up with this phone. I don't understand why. Now, the last two shows, I didn't have no issues. It did not hang up one single time. Then all of a sudden today it hangs up. There he is. He's back. But like I said, I work 4 hours from Sunday or Friday morning until Sunday night, and I only can work 5 hours on Thursday. So that leaves me 31 hours that I got to put in from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So my sports catch up for a lot of it, other than what games I caught on the red zone as I'm driving down I-40 and I-85 and what I heard on the radio. That's about the most catch-up I've gotten to the point outside of the show. So I'm going to do my best to try to keep up with everybody tonight, but I'm going to apologize ahead of time because this whole Chip Ganassi event, family vacation, and preparing for Saturday for the Bank of America 500 has really got me all just not where I need to be at this moment. But without any further delay, Patrick Taylor's in the studio. Patrick, how are you doing tonight?
Good, man. How about you? Sounds like you had a busy weekend, so that's always good.
Yes. And I'm going to tell one quick story real quick, and this is kind of how the weekend went as well. When we were originally about 10-day forecast out, it was supposed to be 70s and sunny. When we go this weekend, obviously the weather got changed with the hurricane. I don't know if it had to do with the hurricane or not, but the weather had changed, and it was rainy and 60 degrees. So we knew we had a small window Saturday morning to, and anybody has been to Gatlinburg and has done all the sightseeing, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a thing called Kleeman's Dome, and it's the highest point. At the dome that sits on the mountain, you get it to be 6,600 feet or so in the air. You park at the bottom. It's a half-mile walk straight up, and then you get to the dome, and then you kind of walk this rail on up, and then you're in the dome. So we knew we had a small window. We get up early. We get everybody loaded up. We get up there. It's foggy. It's kind of cool. And we get to the bottom. There's not a lot of people out there. Obviously, they know it's going to rain as well. We make it halfway up, this half-mile hike up the sidewalk that they put up there, and the sky starts letting loose. And, of course, we brought umbrellas, but we didn't think about the fact that it would be raining at that point in time, so we left them in the car, thought we'd be back in time. So we decided to go ahead. We're going to get up to the top of this dome. We've already gone halfway. Let's go ahead and we get up there. We get up to the dome, and, of course, with the elevation and the temperature being different from the very bottom of the mountain, now instead of it being, I think it was like mid-50s that early in the morning, now we're around in the 40s. So, of course, the rain participation coming down at that point in time now is hail and sleet mix. And then as we walk back down the hill, the sky just lets loose. Needless to say, we were beyond miserably cold and wet by the time we got back to the vehicle. And what the sad part was the fact that it was so foggy and so cloudy at that particular time of the day. Because of all this, you couldn't see nothing. So we kind of went up there for kind of nothing other than to say we did it again. But that's kind of where the weather was this weekend. So, but anyway, we didn't get you on here to listen to me talk Gatlinburg. Patrick, I want you to go ahead and plug Line Blowers, the site, the Twitter, and everything before we jump into these topics.
So lineblower.com, we're outcome prediction for all sports. We specialize segment here on your show and talk NFL. But line_blower at Twitter, lineblower.com. We're also now doing daily fantasy lineups. So if you guys are looking for any advice as far as what players to put in your lineup, you can come check that out as well. But otherwise, Monday and Tuesdays here, and then we also have our blog that we post frequently to discuss topics in the sports world.
Now, I did see this yesterday, Joe Philbin getting fired. Didn't really come as shock. I think it was more of a shock how the Miami Dolphins have played at the beginning of this season, a team that looked like it was getting better and better every year since they've had Ryan Tannehill. I think it was more shocked of that versus the firing of the coach. What went wrong this year? Is it the coach's fault? Are the players not clicking? What is going on in the Miami organization that this is not the Miami team we was kind of expecting going into this season?
Well, like we've talked a few times on the show here, Philbin took over a couple of years ago. He was 24-28 since taking over. Team had just, you could tell the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks that they were disengaged. Philbin really didn't have much command over anybody on the defense. He got a big personality in Ndamukong Suh, who hasn't recorded much of anything all year. Cameron Lake on the outside, big-time players making big-time money, and unfortunately for Philbin, he just wasn't delivering the results. Then reports came out over the weekend that while they were having their game in London, Ryan Tannehill got into a spat with some of the practice squad players, made a comment about how much money they made, and basically the team just gave up on them. And they lost 3 straight in the last 3 weeks, and Miami management thought it was time to make a change. They ended up promoting Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell, who also, like Philbin, has never been a head coach in the NFL. He's a more in-your-face personality. He was one of the guys that Bill Parcells brought in when he took over management role for the Dolphins. He was one of the guys Parcells brought in when he went to the Dallas Cowboys. He's an old-school, hard-nosed tight end that's going to be in your face, and then he's going to really try to light a fire under some of those players that just haven't performed.
Do you think a coach change at this point is going to fix everything, or do you think that it's deeper than that, that this is also players that possibly we need to see be shifted around, let loose, traded, or whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a good sign when you're entering the 5th week of the year and you spent a lot. The Dolphins spent more money in this offseason really than anybody did other than Philadelphia. And for them to go and invest that much in payroll and then have the management not be able to turn a good product on the field and be competitive is disappointing. But maybe it'll work. Maybe they, a lot of that game is more mental than people understand, and a new motivator in there who the players actually do respect. Maybe he can get them back into the swing of things with it, only being the 5th week of the season, and they can contend for the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see. Dan Campbell basically has a tryout to see if he can be the head coach, because if he can turn around the team and make them competitive, get them in the playoffs, he'll most likely be sticking around because he has enough time to prove his worth.
Now, I did see Ndamukong Suh's press conference, or at least a clip of it. Needless to say, he's not feeling so much love these days.
No. I mean, he's definitely, when you're making that much money, he's never been the nicest guy anyway. And I don't know if it was the long flight over to London that had him all hyped up, or the fact that they've gotten their butts handed to them the last 3 weeks in a row, especially on that front seven, where they are supposed to be so dominant. But who knows? Dan Campbell's not going to be a guy that's going to really put up with any of that. He will be the authoritative figure in the locker room, and I think that is a good thing for them. I just question that if Campbell's experience is enough for him to really know how to game plan week in and week out.
Lions and Seahawks. I know I did not get to see whatever the controversial call that I guess league officials have said that it was a bad call, it was a blown call. What is all the fuss about when it comes to this Lions-Seahawks game?
Yeah, so the Seahawks ended up pulling out a pretty nasty, close-fought game last night, 13-10 at home against the Lions. The rule was what happened. Calvin Johnson caught a pass, headed towards the end zone, and right before he went to cross the plane at the 1-yard line, Cam Chancellor, who we had talked about previously but been missing from the Seahawks lineup, made a huge hit and forced the ball out. The ball rolls into the end zone, and KJ Wright, the Seahawks linebacker, clearly bats the ball out of bounds. The rule states that if a player intentionally bats a ball out of bounds, the team that had lost the ball effectively gets the ball back at the 20-yard line. So instead, it ended up being Seattle's ball. So it should have been Detroit's ball because KJ Wright intentionally batted the ball out. But with the ref missing the call, Seattle took over, and then in the end, they ended up running the clock out and winning. But anything like this, the first thing you look at is where was the ref, and the ref was right there on the backside of the play, right in front of it. There wasn't anybody crowding his view. He had a clear shot of it. So the next thing is the entire studio, the studio commentating, calling the game, they didn't have any idea what the rule was either. So it makes you wonder, did the ref know? So he just comes out after the game and he says that he had missed the call. I believe that. It's hard to believe that close and it being that obvious, that he did miss it. I think with all the hype surrounding the NFL and the questions of the integrity of the game, I think people are really critical of something like this, where I think it's just, it was a bad call. And unfortunately, the Lions did play 46 minutes of football prior to that, where one call really never cost you the game. It's an unfortunate one. It's at the end of the game, and it was on a Monday night primetime game where everybody's watching.
My week didn't start off the greatest. I went 10-5, still not at that 75% that I want to be. In a couple games last night, not last night, but Sunday nights, the Saints winning, and I saw this somewhere, and I believe it's true, but fastest overtime victory, 13 seconds. I had a customer came in and said that he went to the bathroom when they went to go to overtime, expecting to watch the overtime game. He came back from the bathroom, the game was over. But my week did start off the greatest with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Scobie missing 2 field goals, and then overtime they just didn't feel confident in their kicker to even take a shot at it. Baltimore gets the first win. What went wrong with the Pittsburgh Steelers that they were unable to win the game that they led most of that game? How did they let Baltimore back in?
Yeah, that was a weird game. There were a couple games this weekend, and with that one being on Thursday, it was a weird one. I mean, the Steelers had every chance, to put the Ravens away. They had a weird couple fourth down calls that didn't go their way. They obviously missed the field goals, and then when it got into crunch time, Tomlin didn't have the confidence in Scobie to kick a lot of field goals. So I didn't blame him for not kicking the field goal. It's just when you got your backup quarterback in, and Vic didn't play too bad, other than the fact that he missed a big throw there late in the game that really could have helped Pittsburgh out and gave him a chance to win. You leave a lot of points on the board. You failed to convert on 3rd and 4th down, and the Ravens were desperate. That was a must-win game for them. So for Flacco and those guys to be able to hang in there and kind of regroup and have a chance to salvage their season is really testament to maybe something they can do moving forward. But really, just the Steelers, they just failed to take advantage of the opportunities that they had, similar to the way the Cowboys did. Both those games were really similar. And unfortunately, two teams that were desperate were able to really take advantage of the situation.
I mean, Vic obviously had a couple bad throws, but almost hit 75% of his passes, no turnovers. That 4th down, I believe it was a 4th and 1, maybe a 4th and 2, I can't remember. And Michael Vick ended up running around the left side and, ultimately didn't get the first down. I didn't quite understand why either. You didn't throw it. I know you can line up Keith Miller or Bell out of the backfield for at least 2 yards out off the offensive line to be a first down marker, or even more. Bell ran at 129 yards, averaged 5.9 yards a carry. How did you not just run it up the guts? I don't quite understand that play, that game call there.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm always reluctant to be critical of play calls just because it's hard to really know what they were seeing on their end. But with that being said, Michael Vick isn't 25 years old anymore. He's not the track star that he used to be. And you have a guy, Le'Veon Bell, who arguably is the best running back in between the tackles in the NFL, and an offensive line that had dominated really the entire game. So I don't know if Vic saw something, if they saw something before they, in that series where maybe they were really crashing the 2 gaps in the middle there, and then thought that they might have like a run blitz coming from the inside, but the Steelers didn't execute the play. The play wasn't really appropriate to be called with the personnel that was in the game, and unfortunately that was probably, outside of the missed field goal, is really the one play that finally shifted the momentum. So I just think in that situation, hindsight's 20/20, but give the ball to the best running back in the NFL, not an aging quarterback who's starting his first game in quite some time.
A lot of talk down here my way, unfortunately, because I'm really tired of hearing it, and I'm going to give my reason why I'm tired of hearing it, and I'm going to get your opinion. Carolina Panthers 4-0. Really, with Benjamin being out there, you got Cam Newton trying to carry a team, a little bit of help with Greg Olsen, but, I mean, ultimately, there's not a lot of stars there. Now, it don't take stars to win. It just takes a team effort. I understand that, but being down here in North Carolina, there's a lot of hype and a lot of talk about this 4-0 Carolina Panther team. That best team in the NFC South, and a lot of these guys' opinions down here, that Carolina team that they feel is going to make a run to the playoffs, possibly win them a Super Bowl, so Carolina has something to cheer about. Yeah, that same Carolina Panthers team that's beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Houston Texans, the New Orleans Saints, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I hold no weight in their wins yet. Maybe after their bye when they go to Seattle, and if they're sitting 5-0, maybe a little bit more respect. Or maybe in the next 4 games when they got Seattle, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, and Green Bay, and they're still sitting undefeated, or maybe even 6-2, I might have a little more respect. But to hear these Carolina fans down here hooting, hollering, and all about some Carolina Panthers who have beaten really nobody at this point, and I hate to throw the Saints in there because I have a lot of respect for Drew Brees and the players they have on that team. It just, I don't know, the first 3 games, they just did not click at all, and it was just horrible. They beat a Dallas Cowboy team in overtime that's with a second-string quarterback and out without their top receiver. But it's kind of the Cleveland Cavaliers of basketball at this point. But do you hold any weight in this 4-0 team at all, and am I just justified in saying that they've really beat nobody?
Yeah, I would say you're justified in it because the 4 teams they did beat are arguably the 4 of the worst teams in the league. So definitely justified in saying it. I really don't. I viewed Carolina as maybe a bubble wild card team coming into the year. With them being in the NFC South, Atlanta's obviously exceeding expectations, but Carolina's got the Saints and the Bucks, who are just not the same teams that the Bucks haven't been good in a long time, and the Saints aren't the same team that they've ever been in the last 5 years. So those are 4 easy wins there, and you accompany that with the fact that Ron Rivera, the head coach for Carolina, has really developed a good defensive team. I mean, they have a real disciplined defense. Josh Norman in the secondary is having a heck of a year so far. So he's a tough guy that's really got the guys playing pretty tough. But I look at him like I did, in the preseason week 1. I think maybe 9 wins, 8 wins. Bubble team, possibly wild card, just depending on how some of those games go. If they can possibly beat the Seahawks or beat the Packers and steal one of those games, and I myself will believe a little more too. But still, all in my mind is just a bubble playoff team. They just don't have the playmakers on offense that can keep up with the Aaron Rodgers or the Seattle Seahawks and then teams like that. So.
First shots have been fired for Week 5, and that is Richard Sherman saying that Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver A.J. Green is overrated. I have never been I've never been a Cincinnati Bengals fan. The rest of my family and most of my friends back home are Cincinnati Bengals fan. I was one of the few Cleveland Browns fans in my area. But, in all fairness, I live 45 minutes from Cincinnati versus 6 hours from Cleveland. But at the same time, I've never been a Richard Sherman fan. I don't think he's the top cornerback in the league. I think that the Seattle Seahawks probably have one of the best defenses in the league, and their defensive scheme is very effective. Richard Sherman doesn't always go against the number 1 receiver, and he doesn't usually cover them the whole time as he gets a lot of safety help, and we've seen how maybe not as good as he really is when Chancellor was not there to help him out and bail him out, and obviously the Seattle Seahawks were suffering with that. In my opinion, you might have a different opinion, but what do you think about Richard Sherman's comments that A.J. Green is overrated, and more so, what is your opinion of Richard Sherman and maybe his role in that Seattle Seahawks defense and being the best cornerback in the league?
Yeah, A.J. Green, I mean, to say he's overrated, it's pretty crazy. I mean, it depends. Are you saying he's one of the best ever to play receiver? I don't think you can say that, but he's definitely a top tier wide receiver in the league. I mean, you got Des Bryant, Julio Jones, Jordy Nelson's hurt, but there's a handful of guys you maybe put ahead of him. But man, that guy can stretch a defense, and he's a big-bodied receiver with real good catching ability and a huge catch radius. So that's just classic Richard Sherman. He likes to do things for attention. It's almost like he has an insecurity about himself, like he's talked everybody into thinking he's better than he is, so he feels like he has to come out and say things every week. Because the fact of the matter is, as you said it, the Seahawks, they play a soft cover 3 where they have two of the very best safeties. It's the best safety duo in the game. But either one of them on any other team would be the best safety on the team. So with Will Thomas, Cam Chancellor, and then the defensive pressure that they get on the quarterback, it's really easy for Richard Sherman to play the style of game he plays. He's not a corner that, like Darrelle Revis, follows the best receiver around on the other team the whole game. He sticks to the left side. They play a soft cover 3, so the receivers aren't typically getting off the ball real clean. So scheme fits him. He's got a great team around him. I mean, you can ask Byron Maxwell, who's possibly the highest paid, overpaid player in the league right now in Philadelphia, because he looked great with Seattle, and now that he's in Philadelphia, he's just being picked on.
A.J. Green is a lot of noise and bad routes. I chuckle at that, and it's funny because I'm not even a Bengals fan. Like, I despise everything about the Bengals, despise A.J. Green. I think it's funny that Andy Dalton, we can bank on it, that the last 3 or 4 games of the season he's going to fall apart and just throw interceptions and might throw a touchdown or 2. And we know that Melvin Lewis and Andy Dalton cannot win playoffs. Melvin Lewis has never won a playoff game as head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, and we can count on this. But with that being said, A.J. Green is not just noise-making and noise-talking and bad routes. A.J. Green is a legitimate receiver. Now, do I say he's top 5 in the league right now? Probably not. But could we possibly put him in the top 10? Probably so. And if he had an even better quarterback, I could imagine where his talent could go at that point. I mean, he's catching balls just for Andy Dalton at this point. So who knows where his ceiling cap really is. He's just making the best of the opportunity that he's been given, and, he's doing a good job at it. The Bengals are consistently good every year. They just fall apart at the end of the season. They beat a lot of good teams all year long. It's not like they beat. I understand they get to beat the Browns sometimes 2 times a year. We've been lucky to beat them here and there. But I mean, going against the Steelers and the Ravens, 4 games guaranteed is not no easy task. No matter what fan of what team you are, you got to give the Ravens and the Steelers their respect. And even on their worst season, they're not bad and still tough opponents. So, I have to have a lot of respect for A.J. Green and what he has done in the short amount of time he's been in the league, especially dealing with the team and the quarterback he's been given. So, I don't know. I just find it humorous.
Yeah, Sherman will continue as those players around him go to other teams to get more money, and he'll continue to realize that he's just not quite as good as he thought he was. And it helps, like in anything, to have good people around you. And Richard Sherman's had a couple of the best ones you could possibly have. A good coach, 2 great safeties, good pressure on defense, good running game on offense. It's really the perfect situation for him.
Now, Oakland Raiders, do you finally, after 27 straight games, get the opportunity to actually be favored in a football game against the Chicago Bears that everybody's just been using as a punching bag, and they fall apart and lose to the OU? That's what you get for finally getting favored after 2013. So I found that humorous. I had a buddy text me yesterday, and he talked about he's a 49ers fan. Now, you don't laugh. Being a Browns fan, actually, you don't laugh at this one. But he was like, I don't know what's up with our 2 teams. At least when they play each other, because we're supposed to watch the game together. I forget which weekend it is. But at least it should be a good game because both of us are horrible. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, dude, I understand my team is bad, but at least my team is actually competing and actually almost winning games. The 49ers are not even close. 3 points against Green Bay, and the week before that was horrible. And I believe that was the 2 pick-sixes Arizona game. So at least Cleveland is being competitive, and I got a good humor out of that. Any of the teams that are still left 4-0, do you, other than the Panthers, feel that their time is about done at this point? And what 4-0 team has impressed you the most?
You know, the Panthers, I'm going to go with, I'll say the Falcons, I think, are the team that's impressed me the most so far, just with the expectation there, coming off a real rough season, a rookie head coach. He's just done a heck of a job changing the culture. He's got arguably the most talented playmaker in the game, Julio Jones, right now. Kyle Shanahan, who's playing for Cleveland, looks like he knows what he's doing, and more so than that, he's got a scheme for Matt Ryan that really fits him perfectly, where he's getting the ball out quick and hitting those receivers. And, you know, the Panthers, like I said, I don't think, though the 4-0 teams remaining, I really think they're still a bubble playoff team. I'm not convinced of it. You have to be able to put points on the board, and I just can't see them being able to do that week in and week out without a legitimate big play receiver, and Cam Newton just being limited with the weapons around him.
Speaking of the Falcons real quick, then I'm going to get you out of here as I see we got Izzo in the studio waiting to get in. What is it the coach that is the change maker here? I mean, we lose Gonzalez. They had Steven Jackson, so they had a big body running back. This team, they've missed them, lost a couple pieces, but this is kind of the same team, especially the offense. What is the big difference this year that they're 4-0 this year versus the last 2 years? They just looked horrible.
Well, the last couple of years, Julio Jones had some injury troubles, and he's really just come into his own there. Devontae Freeman, the running back's really risen in his role as well. They have added some smaller pieces, and then a lot of times in this league, when you have a good quarterback, you have a guy on the outside that can really be dynamic and make plays, adding a Justin Durant to play linebacker, drafting a Vic Beasley who really looks good in the first 4 games, and mixing that with a coach who changes the culture and really starts to revolutionize how these guys are playing the game. And like I said, the Kyle Shanahan portion of the scheme that has really worked. It'd be interesting to see if they can keep it going as teams try to figure out a way to stop Julio Jones. But right now, Atlanta's a team that has a lot of talent at skill positions, added some veteran pieces, and then looked like they made a great draft pick in Vic Beasley. And they play in Atlanta, which is one of the toughest places to play when the Falcons are good. So it'll be interesting as the stretch slows down, but I definitely would be afraid to play Atlanta right now.
Most definitely. I think I would say it's one of the teams that I like the most, but it's hard because New England looks really, really good. I think the new pistol offense, Denver's starting to really start to mesh really well. Outside of the injuries, Green Bay Packers, but how many more injuries can you suffer without it start taking a toll on your team? And then, of course, Cincinnati. The beginning of the season is always good to them, and they come out like they're about something. We'll see how long this goes, especially with them going against Seattle this weekend. Patrick, I want to thank you a lot for coming on. I wish we had a lot more time. There's still a lot more topics that we were not able to jump into. Make sure you guys follow him over there, line_blower, and also over at www.lineblower.com. Patrick, as always, has been a great time. Looking forward to getting back on the show Monday and doing it for the hour-long episode. You have a great week. Good luck this weekend, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good night.
You too. That was Patrick Taylor of Line Blowers. Make sure you guys check them out. Very, very knowledgeable guys over there, so make sure you guys check them out. Speaking of very knowledgeable, we got Izzo in the house, and we got NHL season. We got things to talk about, things to get over and get ready for. Without any further delay, let's get Izzo on. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I am like a kid on Christmas Eve right now, Jay. Kid on Christmas Eve right now.
I bet. Before we jump into it, do you remember it this week? Let's see how good your memory is. What is your Twitter handle?
my Twitter handle. You can follow me at 110puckhead.
There we go.
Jump on there. Shoot me a message. Let's debate. Let's talk about your favorite teams, which players are disappointing you, which players are impressing you. Holler at me at 110puckhead.
There we go. We remembered this week.
Yes, we did.
So, NHL season kicks off tomorrow.
Yes, sir. NHL season does kick off tomorrow. This came in, I got a nice little announcement to make for all those Devil fans out there. Earlier today, Marty Brodeur's number 30 will be retired at the February 9th game against the Edmonton Oilers. Marty Brodeur, as we all know, is probably one of the most talented goaltenders to ever play in the league. Taken 20th overall in the 1990 draft, played 21 seasons in the league, has led the NHL in wins 9 times, finished in the top 5, 5 other occasions. 10-time All-Star, 4-time Vezina Trophy winner, holds the NHL career goaltending records for most wins at 691, shutouts at 125, games played at 1,266, and minutes played at 74,439 minutes. He's won 40 or more games 8 times in his career. Like I said, has won 3 Stanley Cups. Nobody comes as close as Marty Brodeur does when it comes to playing goalie in the National Hockey League. So I'd like to say hats off to him. Congratulations, Mr. Brodeur. You are definitely one of the idols of goalies of my generation with the innovative style that he implemented and pretty much the winning the winning tradition that New Jersey has. He'll be joining 3 other fellow teammates in the retired number range with fellow Cup winners Scott Stevens, wore number 4, Ken Danico, who also won a few Cups with New Jersey, and Stevens and Brodeur wearing number 3, and Scott Niedermayer wore number 27 and won a few Stanley Cups there in New Jersey as well. So those 4 guys will have their numbers up in the rafters as some of the greatest New Jersey Devils to ever play for the organization. And like I said, once again, hats off to Marty Brodeur, and all the best to you in the future, good sir. All the best to you in the future.
Tomorrow. Now
Yeah.
Tomorrow when the season kicks off, what game are you? What part of the day have you set clear that you are going to sit down? What is your game of choice tomorrow?
My game of choice tomorrow, and there's a couple good ones. We have two original 6 matchups. First at 7 o'clock, the Canadians take on the Maple Leafs. But the game I'm really interested in would be the New York Rangers taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. I'd like to see what both of these teams have to offer, since they've had some pretty wacky off seasons. With Rangers losing Marty St. Louis and a few other key players, and the Blackhawks losing all their key players that they did with Johnny Oduya, Brandon Saad. So I'm really looking forward to this game, Jay. This has a Stanley Cup preview written on it. It'd definitely be very interesting to watch, especially this early in the season. This is a game to set the tone right out of the gate for the upcoming for this new season upcoming now. And following those 2 games at 10 o'clock, the Vancouver Canucks will take on the Calgary Flames. And then at 10:30, the San Jose Sharks will take on the LA Kings. And that game will also be on NBC Sports Network right after the Rangers Blackhawks game, which is going to be on NBC Network. So I'm really setting my time off for 8 o'clock. I'm going to be flipping back and forth because we all know the Pirates take on the Cubbies tomorrow. So I'm rooting for the hometown team here for myself with the Pirates. So I'll be paying attention very closely to both games. But as of right now, with the 4 games that we have on the list for tomorrow, Chicago and New York are definitely going to be the one game to really sit down and watch. There's going to be a lot of action in it. I feel it's going to be a very tight game. Could be a very interesting one. I don't really see a blowout in this one. I kind of have Chicago winning this one by a score of maybe 3-1. At the end of the day. So tune in on NBC Sports Network tomorrow, 8 p.m., and you will get to see the Rangers take on the Blackhawks, and hopefully that'll be a doozy.
Now, see that the NHL dropped the hammer today, handed out a big suspension, or actually on the 5th yesterday. What happened, and how big is the suspension for this team?
Well, as we all know, Rafi Torres, forward for the San Jose Sharks, who's had a history of suspension as a repeat offender. Definitely not a good situation for him. The league is clearly trying to send a message that they will not tolerate hits to the head. If anybody has seen the replay, I don't know if you have seen the replay, there was an interference. This could have been interference and a illegal check to the head. The league is really trying to get rid of the illegal checks to the head, especially with all the concussion talk, today in hockey and football, with it being the worst in these two sports. But he received a 41-game suspension, which is half of the season, and this is the biggest suspension that the league has ever handed out in the history of the NHL. I don't necessarily disagree with the punishment being for a repeat offender. He had an illegal check on the head of Marian Hossa last year in the playoffs. Was suspended for the rest of the playoffs for that hit. Has been caught multiple times in prior seasons with illegal hits to the head. And has been made an example of. And this is just another example of the league saying, hey, we're not going to tolerate this. You're not going to get paid. You're not going to play, and we're not going to tolerate this kind of behavior. The NHL is really trying to look out for, the concussion thing right now because it's so big in today's world of sports no matter where you look at it. So definitely a big blow to Rafi Torres right now. Shouldn't be too hard to kind of replace him in a lineup. Although he does offer a strong forecheck, a strong, gritty game, very dangerous guy to play against, can really play the body, as we all see. Too bad he likes to hit people in the head. If he'd like to hit people shoulder to shoulder, he could be a very determined hockey player. So he's going to have a lot of time to sit down and think about this.
Well, how much is it going to impact the Sharks? And why, knowing that you've been a repeat offender, and obviously the league's going to be watching you maybe a little bit more than, say, another player, why would you take a headshot, do a headshot like that, knowing that the league's watching you?
Well, I don't think it's going to really hurt the Sharks too much. Torres is not really the offensive kind of guy. He's your third, fourth line guy. He's the grinder. He might be the guy that's just out there forechecking, playing a lot of penalty kill time, blocking shots, stuff of that nature. So it shouldn't be too hard to kind of replace him on that, third line. So hopefully, I don't really see him affecting them too much. Now that they've switched captains, now Joe Pavelski has been named the captain and Joe Thornton has been named the assistant captain. I think they're still moving in a right direction right now, and I just see this as not really bothering him that much. When his 41 games are up, he might not have a job anymore. That could be a realistic case for Torres right now. A lot of teams are kind of shying away from trying to hire guys that are repeat offenders. They don't want to pay the fines. They don't want to have to deal with the suspension. For the league, hits to the head, it's really hard to control, just like in football. When you try to classify a defenseless player, the golden rule is, you got to keep your head up. In hockey, if you don't, you're gonna meet the ice very quick and in a painful way. In the old school days, hits to the head weren't really frowned upon like they are today. Especially, like I said, with all this concussion talk going on, and and all the in football and hockey. This sort of thing, it's kind of like a black eye, to the game. With every time that this happens, it's really unfortunate. because a lot of guys, some guys might not be able to recover from these sort of types of things. Ryan Whitney, who is a guy who just recently retired a couple weeks ago. Some people may know Ryan Whitney, played for the Pens, played for the Ducks, and everything like that. Had a real bad concussion run there for a little bit. And despite being only 33, 34 years old, he's had to retire because he can't do it anymore. The blows to the head were just getting to him. So, I mean, it's a very physical game. It's very hard to try and adjust your body rapidly to try and make sure that you hit somebody clean. But, I mean, you have less than half a second to, finish off a check if a guy, still has a puck. Anything longer than that is considered roughing or interference or charging. And clearly when you watch the video of Torres, he took four full strides to Silfverberg and, leaned in with his shoulder and made contact with, shoulder on chin and, knocked him out pretty good. So league's really trying to get rid of that. I think they're doing a good job, and I think they set a good example on Rafael Torres by suspending him for 41 games. They're letting him know, hey, you can't be doing that or else you're not going to be playing. And if we look at it now, he's not going to be playing for half a season. So he's not going to be really missed by the Sharks at all. I really don't see it hurting him, and I kind of agree what the league has done with this.
Well, that's good. And with the whole concussion thing, obviously being the center of attention in all sports, they take the plays at home plate more serious in baseball, and then obviously the helmet-to-helmet hits in the NFL, and then with this going on in the NHL, it's just good. I know that it hurts. I'm not gonna say it hurts the sports, but it makes players have to hold back sometimes. Especially we see that a lot in the NFL. But obviously there's a serious issue underneath, and it needs to be addressed. And when you got players that look like they're intentionally going out trying to hurt people, it is what it is. And I'm glad the NHL did what they had to do to set an example and let the league know, look, that we're serious. We're not going to keep just handing out warnings or slapping you guys on the wrist. At some points, enough is enough, and it is good for the NHL to do this.
And hopefully they can continue to keep taking the right steps and move forward with this. Like I said, I mean, you see suspensions every couple games. From checks from behind, hitting in the illegal checks to the head, roughhousing like that. I mean, you'll see that throughout the season, just because of the way a certain play goes, or a way a player turns to try and make a move or a play of some sort. So, I mean, you are going to see, some dangerous hits here and there. And not all of them, have the most evil intentions all the time. And some do. And the ones that do, it's kind of unfortunate because now the league is really hammering down on this. And it needs to be hammered down in because you have to protect you got to protect your franchise. You have to protect your players. You don't want to see these guys only play 6-7 years and then have to retire, early. You don't want them to retire early like an Eric Lindros or a Troy Aikman or a Steve Young. You don't want to see that. You want to see these guys have long, plentiful careers that pan out, just the way they want, So, I mean, it's a sad route sometimes, but, I mean, that's the game. And like I said, it can get, very violent very quickly in a matter of seconds. So hopefully we don't see any of that this season. Nothing too dramatic like we saw this past weekend with Rafael Torres and Jacob Silfverberg. So, I mean, hey, that's why they play the games, Jay, and that's why we got Sports Center and Twitter and Facebook and all this, so we can all break it down and, pretend that we're, Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith here. So it's definitely going to be an interesting
I don't know if
year.
I take that as an insult or a compliment there. I don't care for the two guys. I don't know how to take that one. How I want to say eager. I don't know if eager is the right word. Okay, if you do not get to see in regular game season fashion a 3-on-3 overtime game tomorrow, how upset would you be?
With the 4 games that are on tomorrow, if I had to pick one, I could say the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens could probably go into a 3-on-3 overtime. I can also see the Kings and the Sharks go into an overtime. I would be very excited.
Okay.
I would be a little upset, just due to the fact because they'd run the preseason game and then they'd play the game, and if they wanted to play in overtime, they would throw an extra 5 minutes on, even though the score would be 4-2 or whatnot. To see an actual regular season overtime game, I will be upset if I don't get to see one, just a little bit. But I mean, it is the first game, out of hundreds upon hundreds of games this year. So, I mean, will I be upset? Yeah, I probably will be upset, but I think I'll manage.
Rule changes. There's always those rule changes you want to see. So.
Well, the thing I'm really looking forward to, which I think might take some time, would be the Coach's Challenge rule. The Coach's Challenge, that would be an interesting one to see. That's going to be kind of hard to see when that happens, because the Coach's Challenge, like I covered before, is only going to happen if there's an offsides play that leads to a goal, or if it's goalie interference that leads to a goal or a penalty of some sort. So those are going to be the 2 rule changes that I'm going to be definitely looking for and can't wait to see how that the War Room up in Toronto handles it. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. And yes, I will be a little disappointed if I don't get to see a little bit of overtime 3-on-3, especially with the highlights and games that I've watched so far in the preseason. Seems like it's going to be very interesting. Like I said, teams that covered on a couple weeks ago, Washington and Pittsburgh and Chicago. These teams, like I said, they're going to thrive in this 3-on-3 situation. They really are. And it's going to be interesting to see. You'll see a lot more skill. You're going to see a lot more action, a lot more open ice, a lot of, puck movement going around, a lot of hard skating go around since there's so much more room. And you're going to see goalies sweating like none other, especially with some of these stars out in the league today that can be very dangerous and carry the outcome on the end of their stick. So, yes, I am looking forward to hopefully seeing a 3-on-3 overtime. I'm also pretty hopeful of seeing a Coach's Challenge, hopefully sometime soon. Hopefully I don't have to wait too long for that. So now it's going to be an interesting thing.
Now, you said that the Coach Challenge can only occur on the offsides, at least to a goal, or goalie interference. I know for the most part, watching NFL replays, the camera angles are really well, and there's only a few times that, well, I'm not gonna say a few times, but I know there's not too many times that it's inconclusive. A lot of times the camera we can pretty much get a gist, but obviously if there's a fumble in the pile up and you can't determine if he's down or not, kind of factors in if whether or not it's inclusive enough to overturn it or not. So my point is, how with those particular plays that are actually going to be able to be challenged and reviewed, how good are the camera angles normally on those? Or are we going to run into issues of possibly some challenges not being successful because of potential camera views?
Well, that's a very good question, Jay. Even today, with the reviews and everything that take place, it can be challenging. There are a lot of good camera angles. There's a camera that sits in the net, inside the net in the middle, that you can see the backside of the goaltender and everything like that. There's cameras on both sides of the net on the goal line, and there's usually a few cameras that are angled up above the ice, looking down at the net at several different angles on the goal line. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Like I said, I can only imagine that they're probably going to install more camera angles and everything like that. Now they've started implementing small little cameras in the boards and everything like that. They're starting to use that camera that they do in football games, the one that's on the zip line. I've started to see that coming about a little bit. They have a camera that sits up on top of the glass right behind the scorekeeper's box behind the net. There's a camera up there. So I feel that they'll have pretty much everything they need to make the right call. Will they make the right call? Not always. I mean, we see it all the time in football and, now baseball and everything like that. I mean, it's human error. It's going to happen. Whether it affects the game or not, we shall see. Like I really don't see them having an issue with camera angles because there's so many cameras just focused on the goal. Like I said, when they would review goals, the puck has to go all the way across the goal line. It doesn't matter if there's a sliver of it still on the goal line. It's not a goal unless it goes all the way across. And they've had to review goals where goalies would snatch the puck out of the air and they couldn't tell, if it crossed the goal line because it's in the goalie's catch gloves. So it's going to be a little challenging to try and at first I feel it's going to be a little rough. You do get your offsides plays that lead to goals every once in a blue moon. You really don't see them that often. Offsides is pretty well kept up on in hockey and everything like that. Goalie interference is something that'll probably be challenged the most this season. A lot of goalies will try and they'll come out of their crease to try and cut off an angle, and try and be square in position to make a save on the puck, and the other team's got a guy in front of them, and one of the goalie's defensemen is trying to clear him out. There's going to be contact, and sometimes goalies use that to their advantage and just kind of dive, essentially, and then sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't because, in hockey you can get a 2-minute penalty for diving. So, if a play gets reviewed, a team goes on a penalty kill because they got goalie interference and it's reviewed, that penalty can very well easily probably go to the other team for the goalie for diving. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is all going to work out. I really don't see them having an issue with cameras. Like I said, there's going to be. I feel that there's going to be plenty of angles to look from, to make the right call. And it's just a matter of them, taking the time, looking at the evidence, and making the right call.
That's good. Especially something being new, and you don't want it to be something that is set up for failure. You obviously want this to be a tool to help the game, not to hurt the game and turn the fans off. So that's good that this is going to end up helping the sport more than it possibly can hurt. I know baseball and the delays and the constant delays in other games that has made it be the instant replay being a very opinionated thing whether you like it or not. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction, and they're able to have conclusive video and be able to make the right calls. It's 11 o'clock. So therefore, it's got to be about bedtime because Christmas Eve, you usually go to bed at a decent time so you can get up first thing in the morning and open those presents. I want to make sure that you are fully rested for your present opening fiesta tomorrow with the NHL kicking their season off. I'm definitely going to be looking out for your tweets tomorrow and being able to keep up what's going on through you tomorrow. So looking forward to that. I hope you get plenty of rest. I hope your schedule is very complimentary for the opening day of the NHL season. I'm glad you was able to play some hockey last weekend. I did see that on Facebook that you got to play a little bit. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your night, and good luck tomorrow.
All righty, Jay. Thank you. Like I said, follow me at 110 Puckhead tomorrow. I'll be sending out some pretty cool tweets watching the games. Let's go Buccos tomorrow. Let's beat them Cubbies up. And I'd like to thank Dream Sports Complex up there in Apex for letting us and the boys from down in Fort Bragg come up and playing with you guys. Looking forward to do it again. If you guys are in the area and like to play hockey, check out Dream Sports Complex, man. 2 rinks there. Got a lot of leagues, a lot of tournaments that end up played there. It's a really cool place. Check it out. and we will talk to you guys next week.
You have a great night, Izzo.
You too, Jay.
We want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Don't forget, we are on tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Make sure you tune in. We got our NFL picks. We got some NCAA stuff we got to talk about. Major League Baseball, just a lot of things going on we need to jump into. Thursday nights, we got Racing with Big Sweat, so make sure you tune into that. Also, Thursday, we got our debut of Talking Hoops. Yes, I will be talking NBA from 7 to 8 o'clock, so make sure you guys tune in for that as well over on the Spreaker network. Make sure you follow me at CJ Sports 1. Follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Like us on Facebook. My fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110, the sports and the site side of the house, 110 Nation Sports, the guest and the radio side of the house, 110 Nation Sports Radio. Interested to come on the show, all you got to do is hit a Miss Lee, that's LEE_110 Nation at yahoo.com. I think I've nailed it all. You guys have a great night. We will talk to you tomorrow.
O'Reilly.
The next time you need auto parts and accessories, trust the parts professionals at the 30 Raleigh-Durham O'Reilly Auto Parts stores. Our professional parts people know what it takes to get the job done right. Professionals have counted on O'Reilly Auto Parts for decades. Now you can too. Professional parts people, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.